daily word is rejuvenate. If you want to say the affirmation along with me, I am whole, strong, and full of vitality. Believe that when you say it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nature, in its summer splendor, invites me to rest and rejuvenate. Cats and dogs bask in the sunlight. A gentle breeze carries the scent of flowers. The sunset provides a moment of splendor at the end of each day. I follow nature's cues and take time to relax and rejuvenate. I find a quiet place to connect with God. Perhaps I sit on a rock near the water, a park bench, or on my patio. I settle in to meditation. I breathe in the fresh air and let go of any worries. Spirit renews me with each breath. I open myself to fresh perspectives. I see myself whole, strong, full of vitality. I am rejuvenated. Mindful to maintain balance in my life, I commit to rest and rejuvenation. I look forward to my next experience in nature. And from 1 Peter 1:23, you have been born anew. If you want to say this with conviction, I am whole, strong, and full of vitality. We're going to move into our meditation song. Sit quietly for a moment and then into the meditation with our Reverend Miller. Reverend Miller. And then she will bring us the message today. I am here to entertain you. So our meditation song is Blessings to the World.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I blessing to the world, a blessing to the world.
Let's all take 3 deep, healing, conscious breaths. And if you feel so inspired, let your breath move through you as a we allow ourselves to feel Spirit breathing us. Know this to be true about yourself. I am the heart. I am the hands. I am the one voice of Spirit on earth. And who I am and all I do is a blessing to the world. I am a blessing to the world. If it feels appropriate for you, please touch your heart. And please say this pledge about yourself. I am a blessing to the world. I am a blessing to the world. And one more time, I am a blessing to the world. As we continue to take deep breaths, we allow ourselves to feel the power of these words. We speak these words. We hear them with our physical ears. More importantly, we hear them in the deepness of our heart. Some call that the subconsciousness. We reach to a higher place to say these words. I am a blessing to the world. And our subconsciousness hears that, begins to receive that, so that we reflect back out into the world a presence that comes from the highest of who we are. We take a deep breath. We give thanks to the beautiful beings that we are, that we agreed to be here in physical form at such a time as this. And we give thanks to the ancestors whose shoulders we stand on. The ancestors from many, many, many places around this planet. We give thanks to all the beautiful energies that surround us, in the seen and the unseen, in nature, standing with us, recognizing us, even before we recognize ourselves. We take a deep breath for humanity, struggling forward, pressing forward, evolving in our consciousness, moving through so many struggles, so many places of confusion in our collective consciousness and in our collective unconsciousness. We take a deep breath. Ella Wheeler Wilcox wrote these words about you and me. Feel your feet on the ground right now. And feel your heart all around this globe. And feel yourself as a part of the universe, as a part of the multiverses, as a part of the omniverse. Feet on the ground. And awareness of your hugeness. Ella wrote these words, "Let there be many windows to your soul, that all the glory of the universe may beautify it. Not the narrow pane of one poor creed can catch the radiant rays that shine from countless sources. Tear away the blinds of superstition. Let the light pour through fair windows broad as truth itself and as high as God. We allow the many, many windows of our soul to open. It is only by allowing the fullness of who we are to express that we can be the presence of peace, of wisdom on this earth. It helps to create a world that works for all. We may not know all the answers of how to allow this to happen, except we do know one answer, and that is peace begins within each one of us. Kindness and compassion begins in our own hearts. Understanding, oneness, love, expressing in the world happens within us first. So as we take a few moments of silence, we hold our whole human family, our children and grandchildren and families and siblings and all those we've shared our journeys with and all those we've known as enemies, near and far. We breathe in to remembering who we are. And bless our whole human family. We say, let there be light. Let there be light in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls, in our decisions, in our actions, in our thoughts, in our voting, in our speaking. Let there be light. And we say, so it is, and so we let it be. Namaste. Now first, I'd like to explain my shoes.
We can't see that.
I thought of lifting my leg up, but I'm not. Okay, so I took my shoes off. How many have noticed it was a little warm when you came in today? We came in today and found the temperature on 80 and the thermostat set on heat. Don't ask me why. I'm guessing that we had someone who adjusted the thermostat without their glasses. So we are putting out the call to any funeral homes or AME churches who would like to donate their fans for such occasions. Y'all don't do that. Okay, in the South, maybe other places too, we have fans at the funeral homes. Oh, no, you keep that, darling, that's okay, thank you. She travels with her own. Funeral homes and AME churches, so you may hear that in a trivia question, so don't forget it. Hey, y'all, good to see you. See, we already did this part of the service, but tell us who you are and where you're from.
Jeannie and George Beebe from Decatur, Georgia.
Okay, good to see y'all. Okay, y'all. So, here's the story. I took off my shoes. It reminded me of another story way back when in New Jersey when I was at a big conference. It was back in the days when I took one whole suitcase to hold my purses and shoes that had to match. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Okay. So, and it was back in the days where I wore heels that put me this tall. Okay. Don't ask me why I ever did that, but I did. My feet are still recovering. So, in the conference, I was behind the podium, and my feet were killing me. And I did not push through. I decided I can either be present with what I'm doing or I can think about my feet. So I came out of my shoes, and behind the podium it looked like this. And so as I'm speaking, it was about healing and renewal. Suddenly, I looked across the crowd and everybody's coming out of their shoes. There were shoes everywhere, and the people looked much happier. And so later on a break, somebody came up to me and they said, "I am so glad you reminded us we're standing on holy ground." Thank you so much. And I said, "You are welcome." You know, when somebody gets their miracle, don't take it away from them. They have their moment. Don't take it away from them. But aren't we standing on holy ground?
Yes.
Aren't we standing on holy ground? Yes. And have you noticed that we are having some interesting issues fly around right now? And I don't know about you, but I am especially grateful that I am affiliated with groups like Unity who are reaching for the high mark. And we may not always know what that is moment to moment, but we're reaching. And as my dad used to say, we're pressing on, we're pressing on, we're pressing on. So we press on. And today we're talking about that. We're talking about our God codes. And Fillmore taught about the God codes long before Greg Braden. But lots of people now have caught hold of it. And of course, the ancient ones knew about it. The Kabbalah talked about it. The Haggadah talked about the coding, the blueprinting of who we are as God beings and how we would express that in the world as we woke up. And you may agree with me, I feel we are in the time of massive waking up. And Fillmore talked about an idea of chemicalization, simply meaning that when the highest consciousness starts coming forward, that which is of the lower consciousness will fight like heck for survival. Do you think you might be seeing that? And you might be seeing it in your own self. I do. I see it in myself. Yeah, you see it. You see it. Yeah, that's what I'm working on. That's right. Me too, working on that. So, if you feel some chemicalization, that's an old-fashioned Fillmore word, but it means that there's a word I can't, dissonance. When the higher consciousness meets the older habitual consciousness that wants to hold on to something so tight, even though it no longer serves the highest and the best way. Well, this is the way we've always done it. That's what our committee says. This is what we've always believed. How can I let go of this? So we all have something going on within us that is about that theme. So this is our summertime series. We're exploring this thought, and in July, August, September, we're going to be covering the 12 powers that Fillmore talked about. And we're even going to have a special weekend intensive with Dr. Nikki Golden, but you'll hear more about that. So, based on the teachings of Fillmore, we'll be looking at metaphysical ideas from the Bible, teachings of Jesus, what Fillmore said, and not just Charles, by the way. But he had a second wife named Cora. She doesn't get much publicity, but she really did a great job with the 12 powers. So we're going to talk about these 12 centers of action that Fillmore called innate capacities that stretch back to infinity. Now think about that. Fillmore is suggesting that we have capacities that were designed into the human being that was evolving through time, that these capacities are in us, pulling us forward as our physiology evolved, as our thinking evolved. We have always had these capacities, and they're in us innately. Everybody say amen, because okay. Every once in a while I need to say amen. Okay, so remember, this was last week, Fillmore reminded us, the larger our vision of life, the more freedom we feel. Now, we are celebrating the July 4th holiday, and we talk a lot about America, the land of the free. Do you feel free? You don't have to say yes or no, but do you feel free? No. There are other countries, we all know people living in other countries, and they look at America with a wonderful idea about us. Other people look at America and they have some anger about America. There are mixed feelings about the United States of America. You know, there are other Americas. When we say America, we're living on a continent, South and North America. But in the United States of America, there are lots of different feelings about who America is and what we're up to. So when we sing our patriotic songs, when we sing God Bless America, do you know there was one person who left this morning when they found out we were going to sing 2 songs, patriotic songs. So we're all working on something, aren't we? We're all working on something. I remember after 9/11, if you weren't flying a little flag in your car, you were looked at as being unpatriotic. We are doing our work. I hope we're doing our work because we're always looking for something to be in a hissy fit about. Aren't we? Is that the human way? We're always looking for something to have a hissy fit about. I remember my granny said to me once, "You just stirring stuff up. You're just stirring stuff up." Well, you know, things are stirred up. Things are stirred up. So when we sing these songs today, and there's one coming up, we're going to, you know, sing it like a prayer. Bless America. We are still a country that has an ideal that we're living into, just like unity. We are living into the name unity because the unity as a movement is going through some growing pains. So we breathe into the ideal of unity and we breathe into the idea of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We breathe into that. Whether we're feeling it completely or not, we allow ourselves to breathe into it. What does it mean? What does it look like? I remember a moment, an extraordinary moment. My dad and I and my brother-in-law, we used to have some, what would you call them, Pam? Where's Pam? Heated arguments. Colorful conversations about the Vietnam War. How many of us have had those conversations with people of our parents' generation? And I can remember walking across at a red light in Jacksonville, Florida, and I looked up into Dad's face. He was so upset with me about my thoughts on Vietnam. And he was so patriotic. And no questions asked. Of course we're supposed to be there. It's our country. We have to defend our country. And I would just ask one simple question that all children ask. Why? Why are we there? Why? Give me the reason why my high school friends are over there getting killed. Tell me why. That is a great question. And I remember looking into his face and having that extraordinary moment of realizing that he, as a young man, fought for his country, World War II. He believed in what he was doing, and it made sense for him. Somewhere along the way, the war stopped making sense.
Amen.
So I bless him. I bless all the fathers and mothers of the many people who've gone to war in many places, and still right now we bless them. And when we sing these songs, God Bless America, we are blessing all of us to press on towards the high mark. We don't know exactly how it's all going to unfold, but we keep pressing on. When McNamara came out with a book about Vietnam, and my dad was able to read from the words of someone of his generation in government, it was the greatest day. I thank you, McNamara. Thank you for writing that book. And my dad was able to come and say, you know what? I don't know why we were in Vietnam. It doesn't make sense to me either anymore. What a moment. What a moment when we let go of an old idea and open up to a new idea. We may not know the fullness of what the new idea is, but we know there's something pressing us forward, moving us forward. And so, the 12 powers, I am going to connect this dot. These are 12 powers that Fillmore identified. You know, when I was in the Pentecostal movement, we had 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit. Well, Fillmore sees 12 powers of humankind. And these are the words that he put to these powers. And these look like some pretty good ideas to deepen into. Fillmore talked about these being divine ideas, placed into the consciousness of humankind. And we can live these ideas from the personality level, or we can live them from the higher consciousness level. For example, strength. When we're living from the personality level, often strength becomes something about empowerment over something else or someone else. It comes out of fear. But when strength comes from the spiritual consciousness, we think with more wisdom in our actions and in our decisions. You see the difference? But it's all on the same spectrum. So, 12 innate capacities that we can look to and allow our actions to grow from those capacities. Now, a lot of us, me included, it's a good idea to review this list now and then. Because this is what's within us. Sometimes I forget that I have this innate capacity of strength. Do you? Or the innate capacity of imagination or release. How many of you have been doing some major releasing over the last few months, few weeks, few days, few hours? Few years. We know about release. So, how many of us have felt really fabulous about that happening? So remember to look to this idea that these are innate capacities that help us to express the many aspects of spirit. He also connected them with the energy system of the body, akin to the chakra system of the body, that these 12 innate capacities have energy centers within us. The qualities, the energy of our bodies, our systems, we have all this within us, and with our prayers, with our meditation, with our affirmations, we can access these centers of power. We come to Reiki healing to get balance. We come to the Unity Healing and Prayer Service to help get balance. We come here to help get balance so we can access the depth of these innate capacities. Right? Sometimes we forget though. It goes something like this. I just can't do it anymore. I quit. Right? And so, somebody, and maybe it will be your own divine, magnificent consciousness in your meditation, you will remember. Oh, I remember. Wait a minute. I have these 12 centers of actions, these innate capacities within me. I forgot for a minute. And you know, the great news is, Spirit never says to us, you forgot, you can't play anymore. Spirit says, welcome back, whether we're gone for a second, or a decade, or a lifetime. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just say that, you know, sometimes we don't forget, I never forget this, but I have a problem keeping the shadows from steering me from it.
Paula has shadows in her life. I have shadows in mine. Do you have shadows in your life? Yay, the Bible writer said. Yay, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And y'all know what I'm going to say next. We're walking through the valley. We're not building a house there. Of course there's going to be valley. We've been going through some valleys all along. And if you've lived through a time of awakening before, you know that the times of awakening will require that we call on everything we've ever learned about the spiritual journey, and we call on every one of these powers to help us walk through the valley. So, when you don't want to do your spiritual practice, when I don't want to do my spiritual practice, I just have to ask myself a question. Do I want to stay in the valley? Sometimes the answer is yes. But have you noticed that those times get less and less duration and less intensity? Have y'all noticed that?
Yes.
Thank God. Okay, Reverend James King, Unity of Greenville, South Carolina, he says, because of negative focus in our culture, people suffer from a plethora of mental and psychological ills. You might agree. I am not waiting for a reward in the afterlife. I am claiming peace, joy, love, and prosperity in the trenches of my own experience right now. Can we get an amen? And I loved that phrase, the trenches of my own experience. It is like the trenches sometimes, isn't it? It is like the trenches. We were talking yesterday about a friend of ours, Bert Carson, in Mentone, Alabama. He served in Vietnam. He told us years ago he was jogging along the road in Mentone, Alabama. Somebody somewhere set off a cherry bomb. He said he woke up about an hour later in a ditch. He completely blacked out. There will be something in the world in this moment that will take us to the ditch, that will take us to the trenches, that will take us to the valley of the shadow. There will be something. There probably will be several somethings. This is the time to pull out everything you know about feeling your oneness with Spirit, feeling your oneness with the One Presence, feeling your oneness with the all that is. This is your moment. You know, that's the good news, and for some people it's the upsetting news. Well, I thought I had more time for practice. How many of you left studying for your exam till the night before in high school or college? Well, guess what? This is the cramming moment. This is, okay, wait a minute, I remember, breathe. Okay, go into the silence, okay. Remember my oneness. This is the time. As a matter of fact, practice time is done. Show us what you got. And what you've got is everything. Even if you don't consider that you've done much practice. It's all in there. Those who are last will be first. The ones who have practiced for about a minute are catching hold of these divine ideas as much as people who've been practicing for 40 and 50 and 60 years. That's the way it works. We stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before us. So this is from James King's new book that he's working on, Jesus Never Said That. So I'd like for us to use this as an affirmation right now, the second statement. Can we do that together? If you feel so inspired. I am not waiting for a reward in the afterlife. I am claiming peace, joy, love, and prosperity in the trenches of my own experience right now. And if some of you don't have a well-defined trench, many of us here will share with you. Okay, Cora Fillmore, second wife of Charles. There's in this book that we'll be using for these 12 powers over the summer. The first half is Charles Fillmore, and the second half is Cora. And I actually like Cora's explanation better than Charles, but that's okay. I had to talk with Charles about that. And so she says, I am the image and likeness of God, the prism through which divine mind flashes its perfection into expression. Is that fabulous? I just love that. So let me read you a few other things that she says about the 12 powers. She says, as Jesus Christ was transfigured on the mount before his disciples, remember Peter, James, and John, for all of you who brought your Bible. No, okay. Peter, James, and John, they went up on the mountain with Jesus. It wasn't called the Mountain of Transfiguration, but they went up there and they had an experience. And they saw the glory of God, the Spirit of the Most High God, the countenance of Jesus, light up so much. They called it the Mount of Transfiguration. That's the place where Jesus said, who do men say that I am? And Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. So the Christ, the highest consciousness. So, as Jesus Christ was transfigured on the mount before his disciples, so we shall be transfigured in our high understanding and become manifest sons and daughters of God. Now, when you feel the chemicalization or the dissonance going on in you, when you feel yourself walking through the valley of the shadow, when you feel yourself letting go of old beliefs, when you feel some of that release happening, when you feel the disruption, the rumbling, the earthquakes inside, think about what does it take to become transfigured in the high understanding of the Most High consciousness. What might that look like? Well, I invite you to look around in the world and observe, because in my perspective, this is what it looks like. The fact is that the lives of Jesus Christ and the 12 apostles are symbolical demonstrations. We're talking about the 12 powers, that the 12 apostles, because Fillmore likened every one of these powers with a particular disciple. For example, Peter is the disciple of faith. And you remember he's the one who lost his faith. But Fillmore saw a transfiguration within a human being named Peter who lost his faith and then stepped in to the huge, magnificent, authentic faith. Peter denied that he ever knew the Christ consciousness. I don't know him. I haven't seen him. No, don't know that name. Hadn't seen him around here. 3 times. So how many times do we deny the fullest expression of who we are coming through? How many? So, anyway, the 12 apostles were symbolic demonstrations of the unfoldment of the 12 capacities of humankind, which we are interpreting now in our bodies and in our minds. So Fillmore was very keen on this idea that when we tapped into these 12 powers, we would not only be renewing our mind, we would be transforming our emotions and healing and renewing our physicality. So we have a lot to look into in these 12 powers over these next 12 weeks. She also said we are developing out of a 3-dimension consciousness into a 4-dimension consciousness, and this is really the transformation named by Jesus, the regeneration. There's going to be a lot of interesting things to look into about this idea. The point is, and if she were alive today, she would probably say, we're developing out of a 3-dimensional consciousness into a multi-dimensional consciousness. That's the way I would write it. And Charles Fillmore said this, the second coming is the awakening and the regeneration of the subconscious mind through the superconsciousness or Christ mind. So let's talk about that a moment. I have to keep it simple for me. So here's how I see it works. I go into the silence. I go into my time of meditation. I go into my stepping into and allowing myself to feel the oneness with the one presence. And in that, I am accessing superconsciousness. divine mind, the I am consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the realm of divine ideas. And I catch hold of a divine idea. Let's say I catch hold of the divine idea of faith. And I begin to feel and sense that very powerful faith. And that seeps down into my subconsciousness. I'm keeping it simple. I know that there are professionals in the audience who could explain it according to psychological terms. But the supermind, the divine mind, the I am consciousness, the Christ consciousness, those divine ideas seep down into that place in me that has all the beliefs, not only of my life, but all the generations before me. The collective. And as those divine ideas filter into the subconsciousness wakes up and becomes spiritualized and begins to reflect in the conscious life higher ideas, higher understanding, higher awareness. You see how that works? We're going to go into this over the next 12 weeks. I'm still catching hold of what this means. It's in the heart. It's in the heart. So let's take a deep breath. A lot of us will just be meditating simply. I will be simply meditating these 12 weeks on the idea that these innate capacities are a part of who I am. Even on my bad days when I talk myself out of my incredible magnificence. And I know you have those days too. So these ideas are something for us to contemplate and feel as true. And that we stop talking ourselves out of being the manifest sons and daughters of the Most High. I point up, but really it's like this. It's the divine all that is. So let's take a deep breath. We give thanks for the places like this place where we can come together, explore these ideas, and encourage one another to be the fullness of who we are expressing on earth. We give thanks that we are in process. We are the presence of Spirit on earth. We give thanks for remembering this. Namaste. Everybody say, ah.